Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Haven't been here in a couple weeks. Thank you all for checking out Her Rules. Her Rules is a show where we bring generations of women together to discuss love, life, money, business, and everything in between. I'm Latasha Nicole, and I'm your host today. We've been gone for a couple weeks trying to get some things together, but we are back. Today I have Miss Diamond over here, and I also have Miss Brenda Marie joining me. I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, but first I will introduce myself in case, you forgot who I was since you ain't seen me in a couple weeks. I'm Latasha Nicole, and I am the owner of Pivot Point Publishing, as well as the executive director of Pearls and Gems Elite. With Pivot Point Publishing, we do have a new book called Sis Stand on My Shoulders. Ms. Brenda Marie is one of the authors in the book. Sis Stand on My Shoulders is a book of letters of sorts written from women who are 30 plus, about 40 years old, written to women who are about in their 20s. So therefore, on each episode of Her Rules, we do have a millennial guest, and our millennial guest today is Ms. Diamond, and then we have us who are not quite millennial guests. So I'll go ahead and let Ms. Diamond introduce herself.
Hi, I am Diamond, and I am an educator and an author as well. I write poetry. That's pretty much it about me.
All right, Ms. Diamond, she's an educator and an author. And Brenda?
Hi, I'm Brenda Marie, and I am an educator as well. And also, as you stated earlier, I am an author and Sister Stand on My Shoulders.
Oh, wow. So we got a panel of educators and authors today. That's pretty cool. Before we get started on our topic for today, we always like to do What's the Tea? So What's the Tea? Like I said, every week it's not about gossip. I do ask all guests to wear a T-shirt that represents something about yourself or your favorite tea. So what we'll do is we'll have each of the ladies go around and tell me why they picked the tea that they picked and what their shirt says. As always, I'll go ahead and start. So I'm going to just let you see my shirt here. It says Money, Family, Hustle. Now, this actually is a shirt that was designed by a friend of one of my daughters. And for me, it's me, money, family, hustle. My thing now is all about building legacy. And in order to build legacy, you got to have some money, got to have family, and you got to have some hustle. So that's what my shirt today, money, family, hustle. Ms. Brenda, tell us about your shirt.
Okay, so my shirt says, I am a July girl, and I may not be perfect, but Jesus thinks I'm to die for. I chose this shirt because, well, it's not July, of course, but the weather, the seasons are changing, and it's getting cold outside.
Okay.
And so I love July because it's always warm, but I also love it because I'm not perfect. I'm a woman, and I make mistakes just like everybody else does, but God thinks I'm to die for. So.
I thought your birthday was in July. I just knew that's where you was going.
Well, yeah, my birthday is in July.
Oh, okay.
Yes, July 1st.
I just knew that's where you were going with
Yes,
it. Okay.
absolutely.
Nice. And Diamond?
So our T-shirt is pretty much similar. Mine says Ready, Set, Hustle. So whenever I have to, prepare myself to do anything in the day, I prepare myself, I pray in the morning, and I get on with the day. My days are really, really long. So this is my favorite shirt.
Ready, set, hustle. I like that.
I
I
like
like
that.
that. Yeah, and our shirts are like the opposite colors of each
Right.
other. I'm going to have to get one of those.
I didn't get the blue memo. Okay.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. Let me tell you
It
what
wasn't
happened.
planned. It wasn't
It
planned.
just happened.
Right.
My thing is, I laugh every week when I get ready to pick out my T-shirt for the show because I didn't think this thing through when I first started this. When I said every week we got to wear a T-shirt that represents us, I'm like, okay, well, I have a different guest every week, but I'm here every week.
Right.
That means I need a T-shirt every week.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't think this through, but I've been doing pretty good with my talking tees in my closet.
Okay.
So, tell y'all why we came here today and what our topic is. We are talking about old school dating and relationships versus new school dating and relationships. Now, I know y'all got to agree with me. There's a difference between old
Huge
school
difference,
and new
yes.
school dating. Okay, cool. So, first, before we even get started, I guess I should ask Brenda, what is dating?
Whew. You want the old school version? or the new?
Tell me what you got.
Which version you want? Well, I think dating is a when you're trying to get to know someone. You're trying to get to know if that person is a fit for you.
Okay.
I mean, you just pretty much trying to get to know the person as an individual
Okay.
to see if there's qualities that you desire.
Okay. Okay.
So not
Diamond.
necessarily they have those qualities. So,
Okay. Diamond.
I agree.
But.
the millennial, come on, millennial.
But I think it's a difference coming into my age simply because we do it differently.
But what is it? What
is it? Yeah. To you guys, what is it?
To us, it's really just you're getting to know people. Because me personally, everybody is mostly behind a screen now. So you really have to filter out, okay, I can't have this, I don't want this. And you have to know yourself too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing you start
absolutely.
dating anyone. You have to know yourself. So once you figure yourself out, then you can step out into the spectrum and say, okay, this person got this, I can't deal with that,
Right.
can't deal with that. And we usually talk to multiple people.
Okay.
So this person might have something, this person might have something, then this person, I definitely can't deal with this person. So it's a filter thing for us.
Okay.
Okay.
So dating, by definition, says meeting people and spending time with them, spending time with someone with the hopes of finding a committed relationship. Now, I've heard people say you got to date with intention, right?
Yeah.
And I get dating with intention, but everybody you date ain't going to be your husband.
No, they're not.
And people go into it kind of
Absolutely.
looking at everybody like,
Yes.
this your
Yes.
husband.
Yes.
Yes.
This your husband. And they skipping over the part where in dating you supposed to get to know,
know
Yeah, because
somebody.
in
Yes.
dating, you might just find a good friend, someone that can be a good friend to you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily someone that you can actually marry and live with.
I agree.
It's the movies. The movies are doing it.
What
It's
are
the
what the
movies.
movies doing?
The
Diamond?
movies are doing
Blame it
it.
on the movies.
You know what? It's the funny part about that is real quick. I had a teacher that told me he does not let his daughters watch Disney movies.
Why?
He said because Disney movies teach young girls that there's a Prince Charming coming around, and that's not always true.
So
yes.
see, now it's funny that you should say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's funny
And I
because
was like, what? But then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I grew up thinking that.
Yeah.
That
A lot
I'm
of
gonna
girls
marry
grew
this
up. A
one
lot of girls
person,
grew up
he's gonna
thinking
be
that.
it.
That
And that's not
Cinderella
true.
that kind of messed us up.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, because what happens with women too, we date and then we get loyal by default.
Yes.
And you made a point. You said you guys date multiple people, but
Yeah.
sometimes when you're dating, people just date this one person.
No,
Yeah.
Real
you shouldn't.
early.
Yes.
Stop.
Yeah.
You know, you like this person and that's it.
That's
Yeah.
You
it.
just stop fielding.
But
other
men
offers.
don't do that.
Oh, we got some men out here.
Uh-oh.
Y'all don't do that.
Uh-oh.
Men don't
Men
just
do
date
not
one.
do that. Not men my age. They don't do that.
Oh.
They're like, okay, I got her over here, this person over here.
Well, that's what dating is, right?
Yeah, that's what dating,
Dating
is.
you're supposed to. What you
But-
got to
but-
say?
But my female friends,
You just said that you should date multiple people.
but
Yes,
some of
you
my
did say
female
that.
friends are like, girl, I really, really like it. And I'm like, okay, but what about the other guy? You know, you was talking a couple months ago. Oh, well, you know, that didn't work out because he didn't want a relationship. But you're dating.
Yeah. So dating
You're
is
dating.
supposed to be
You didn't get that
multiple-
man a chance to get to know you. Like,
That's
Come on now.
because women they settle down way too fast. We
Yes.
settle down before
Yeah.
the man say he'll tell you.
Yeah,
he
he'll
will
let
say
you know.
to you,
Yeah.
"I'm just out. How much we chilling?
Right.
You
She
cool?
making wedding plans.
Right.
She done picked out
Girl,
dates.
listen here.
yeah, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm like,
Right. Yeah. So
Men learn to watch what they say.
they do,
Yes.
but we don't
Yeah.
listen. We
Yes.
don't
No, we
listen.
don't listen.
I know that's exactly.
You know why we don't listen? Because we can fix it.
We already got our plan. We
Yeah.
could just make him
Yeah, we
can
fix
into
it.
what
Yeah.
we want it to be. Look at
Absolutely.
Corey. He like, yeah, been there.
Y'all cooking with gas.
So let's take it back just a little bit. Let's talk about the difference between old school dating and new school dating, or
right.
old school relationships and new school relationships. So first, another word that came to mind when I looked up dating was courting. So I'm gonna ask Diamond. Do you know what courting is?
courting. No, courting is it's like wooing them. It's like winning them over. It's like cooking their favorite meal.
Yeah.
It's like bringing them flowers. It's like calling them in the middle of the day. That's
Who's
kinda like
doing this?
courting.
You?
Yeah.
The
Oh
female?
no. The guy is supposed to do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm raised by my grandmother, so
Okay.
she's definitely like, oh no, he's
So you got some
supposed
old
to-
school, new school
I
mixed,
got a
mixed up
mixture.
in
Some
there.
notes in there.
Little
mixed up.
balance.
Yeah.
So, Brenda, Courtney.
Well, like, like the millennial said, it's like the, it's the wooing, it's the the romantic love notes or the flowers or
What's the
romantic
definition?
dinners. What's the definition of
courting?
courting? I would like the millennial said wooing.
Okay. So the definition per the dictionary was to seek affections of, to seek to win a pledge of marriage. So dating is to get to know somebody by definition, and courting by definition is to be working towards trying to get married.
Okay.
Corey, that ain't what you don't agree? Huh? I just Googled this while I was just, I mean, people don't really even use the term courting so much anymore.
No.
I mean,
don't.
have you ever intentionally courted someone?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I never courted with the intention of getting married.
So what was the purpose
What was
of your
What
courting?
was the purpose of that?
I would think just me hearing the word courting is just trying to get her attention. Just trying to, just let her know that you are interested in everything like that.
But you're interested for what? Because you're not trying to get married, so you're interested for what?
Interested to be interested.
Oh, what's the difference
What
then
is that?
between
What is
courting? So, in your opinion, is courting after dating?
Going back to what the women said earlier in the podcast, is that everybody isn't going to be your mate.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're courting someone, it's not the fact that I'm courting this person with the intention of living with them for the rest of my life. I'm
Okay.
just letting them know that I'm interested.
So you're
That's what I
pursuing them.
Pursuing
Them. Okay. I could dig that.
Yeah.
I can dig with
I
that.
like that word. Pursue.
Yeah.
Pursuing.
Yes.
So do you, in your opinion, Corey, do you court before you date?
I think that's the process. You court, then you date, then there's a relationship, and if it goes to that level, then eventually you guys walk down the aisle. I would think that's the protocol.
I like that.
Mr. Love, can you since your last name is Love, I just had to ask.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So, do you agree with that? Do you think that it's courting is, we said courting, in Corey's opinion, was before dating?
No, courting is not before dating. Dating is the process of trying to introduce the person, or introduce yourself to that individual. But courting is when your intention is to marry. My father would say courting. My father-
Courting. Courting.
Yeah, courting. So at this point in stage in my life, I would say knowing what I'm looking for made it easier for me to court or
Okay.
court my wife,
Okay.
because I knew what I was looking for. It's an easier process when you know what you're looking for, and when you find it, bam.
See, I think that's also the difference in age groups.
Absolutely.
Definitely,
Absolutely.
because at 24, you probably
don't
ain't
know.
out here looking
No, you
for something specific.
Or
whereas
you shouldn't be, because at 24 you don't even know who you are
You don't know.
or what you really want
Okay.
or need at that point.
I agree with that. So I had another question thinking about dating and courting and getting to know people in 2019. Where are people meeting new people at? How do you meet new people to date? Where do you meet them? I'm not dating. I don't know. I was married for 17 years. The person I'm with now, I've known since I was 7. So I don't. Somebody help me out. Diamond.
Come on, millennial, help me out here.
It's a few places. So I went to college, so that was one place. And at college, it has like these resources or and websites too. Websites and resources, different places you can go. It's kind of what you're interested in. That's the way I look at dating. I go to places that I'm interested in. So I'm interested in poetry. I'm interested in music. So I might go to a concert. I might go to a poetry reading. Things like that. Because because you have to support me and be and like the things that I like to do. If you can't support me or you can't do those things, then we can't have, we don't have those like things alike. It's not
So
gonna work.
wait, let me ask. You said so you go out to places like poetry reading,
Yeah.
and so that's where you meet new people at.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and then you also said at college, and then you said on websites.
Yes.
Okay, so I know definitely like college, school, places that you're familiar. I'm weird in that, like if I go out to a poetry reading or something like that, I don't like strange people to come up and talk to me. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't
Yeah.
work for me. So it's usually for me, it has to be someplace that I frequent often. So maybe,
Okay.
like a lot of back in the day, or probably still people meet at church or work or school, but where else? The grocery store? I mean, how does somebody just come up to you in the grocery store?
I had a grocery store.
What's you got a story?
Yeah, I had a
I wanna
grocery
hear
store. And it's funny because the guy was older than me, and so I was in the grocery store with my best friend, and when he approached me, I'm looking like, okay.
First of all, I'm just trying to get my groceries. Why are you
Right.
coming in my
Right.
space?
He was smooth, he was smooth when he did it, but I was like, all right. But like I said, he was older than me. He was in his 30s.
Okay.
And I was like,
So
okay.
old.
Oh, okay.
So old.
He was in his 30s. He was smooth or whatever. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
old man, So
Oh,
I'm like, okay, But I was trying to get my pineapples and move around,
Right.
but all right. But and it was so funny because when I went and told my best friend, she was like, what took you so long getting your fruit? And I was like, oh, this guy wanted my number. She was like,
Somebody you just met for the first time, and did you give
Wow.
him your number?
no. I was like, you can give me yours.
Okay, because I would have.
I'm smooth too, so.
oh, okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much how that went.
So grocery store. So I know a lot of people are doing online dating.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
that's a big thing
Yes,
now.
and the dating site. I guess the dating
Dating apps.
site.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
dating
it goes
site.
down in the DMs on Instagram,
Yes.
Facebook, Twitter, all that. That's funny. They don't say that no more. So
Oh yeah.
it still goes down.
It
in
still
the
goes
DMs.
down in the DMs.
Oh, wow.
It still goes
Yeah,
down.
I mean, but that's where you are. That's where we hanging
Yeah.
out. Like you said, it's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff behind screens. But you got to be careful with that.
Yes,
Yes.
you do.
That's like something that's really scary. That's the difference is you don't get to know, you don't get that face-to-face
No.
interaction with people. Anybody could be anybody
Yeah.
Yes.
behind the screen. My daughter just shared a story with me about an 11-year-old
Yes.
who met somebody on Snapchat. The guy gave the 11-year-old was a little boy. Somebody gave him an address on Snapchat where to meet this little boy.
Yeah, I seen
The
that.
11-year-old little boy took his brother's car and was driving 200 miles to go meet somebody that he met on Snapchat.
Wow.
And from what I understand, I don't use Snapchat, but everything disappears after a certain time.
Right.
So the
So they
little
didn't know
boy,
where he was at.
so he didn't know where he was going.
Yeah.
And the police officer just so happened to see him out here, like this looked like a little kid out here driving around to go meet somebody. And we don't know. I don't know if they ever figured out who was on the other end of that snap, but
Right.
that's a scary thing
Yes,
that
it
people out here getting catfished and all kind of stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
And so that's one of the things with the new school dating that I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you manage it?
Well, it's this thing called FaceTime.
Okay.
That works very well. If someone tells you that they can't FaceTime you, but when you're texting them, it's blue, it's a problem.
What if they don't got an iPhone? Is there a thing?
Who
for them
does
on
it?
the phone?
You have an iPhone.
What? She gonna have to get up out of here. I ain't never been so disrespected on my own platform.
Come on now. Like,
Brenda don't got an
I don't
iPhone.
have
My
an
mom
iPhone.
calls it
Messenger.
iCrap.
You can do the messenger, right?
Crap.
yeah, she thinks
You can do the messenger app
I
where
don't
you can
know.
see the.
Yes,
You can actually
see?
see. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
so
got the tea. She got
okay.
the
So
tea.
what you're saying is you gotta see them.
There is
Yes.
no
You can-
excuse
Yeah.
why you should get catfished is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's no excuse at all.
Okay.
Because
Every phone has a camera.
has a video.
that's true.
At what point do you say, okay, let's set up some type of video chat? How long you talking to somebody before we video chatting?
That's if you like them.
Okay, quickly.
Okay.
Okay, so
You know?
because I can get turned off real quick by what somebody typed to me, because if your English isn't right,
Right.
you're not going too far.
Your punctuation
Right.
is wrong.
Now punctuation, I don't know, because sometimes
That's
when,
key too.
but
That
nowadays
says a lot.
everything is so short and
Yeah.
abbreviated.
Maybe 'cause I'm
Abbreviated,
off, I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So I know we're gonna do a short show, so I definitely don't want to get too far off topic. But I'm gonna go over a couple things that I saw on this article I read about the difference between old school dating and new school dating. So first of all, let's talk about this. Who pays for the dates now? What's the expectation? What's so funny?
Because you keep looking at me.
Well, I guess it depends on who asked for the date, who initiated the date, right?
What you guys say?
Come on, Millennial, what you got?
So I've been on dates where, like in that article, it was an awkward silence. Okay, well, we're going to
When
go
the
ahead.
check come.
And then I had someone be like, oh, no, I got it.
So wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah,
So y'all
I've
didn't.
had
Y'all.
both, though.
I get
And
it,
they
but
both were millennials.
y'all didn't decide to go half until the check came.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That's
so
why it was so funny when you sent me that. I was like,
Okay,
this is
but who
crazy.
initiated the date though?
I wouldn't have went back.
They
on
did.
that date over.
So,
You can't even get it out.
I'm being honest. Like, there are guys that expect the woman to pay at the end of the day.
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then y'all going
And
half at the
then
table.
and then there's some that are like, I got it.
Okay,
There are
now wait a
some-
minute. So is this like the first initial
Yeah.
meeting of the person?
Y'all didn't discuss this beforehand. Y'all just ordered your food. The check came, and y'all looking at each other like, "Who gonna pay?"
Oh, that's deep.
And that was the last time.
Wow.
That's
Okay, so
weird.
that's not
I
acceptable.
would hope so.
So that's not the norm.
Because my thing
That's
is,
deep.
if you didn't have the money,
Why we here?
Why would
Why
you
we on
do
this
that?
date?
Right.
I don't know.
Oh,
It
wow.
wasn't me. I don't know.
That's weird. Yeah, that's
Ooh-wee.
weird. That's
That
weird.
is weird.
So who asks who out or for their number or things like that? Are women doing that more now?
I've seen women do it. I won't say that I've done it, but I've seen women do it.
Is it acceptable? Like, is that more acceptable?
I have a best friend. He told me that was acceptable.
For a woman
For
to
a
ask
woman to
him
ask him,
ask
yeah.
him out?
Yeah, he lets women take him out on dates. So I think that he thinks anything is acceptable.
Well, I'm sure it is. If she asking, that means she has to pay for it. So yeah.
Does that change the
That's what my mama
dynamic?
said the rule was. So
A woman can ask to be taken out, and it's still the man's responsibility to pay at the end of the day.
So it's the man's responsibility to pay. I wonder if that's. I wish we had a
he
millennial
said
dude in
always. He
here.
make that
That's
a rule.
always.
He said always. That's
Is
a
it
rule.
not? Like, we're
So-
not in agreement?
Well, I mean, I hear what Millennial was saying over there, but I just can't believe that actually happened. Though.
The half,
Yeah.
split the bill in half. No, so I don't think that a woman always a man always has to pay. I do think that most of the men that I know that are grown men have the expectation of paying when they go out to dinner. However, I have been known myself to say I'll take care of it, because if we went out a couple times and you've paid a couple times, I'm okay with paying for.
That's fine, but at the same time, like, if women are attracted to security, the first step, the
Yes,
first initial
absolutely.
meeting should not be wanting to be taken care of by her, by
So,
the check.
so do you think that if the man is asking the woman to pay for the first date, that means that he's not really interested?
I would say if the man is asking a woman to pay for the first date, he would probably have a profile picture with 3 pictures in one, like a female. Like, it would have to be, it would have to be a feminine type male to expect a woman to pay for that first date.
Ouch on that one.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm
Okay.
saying to expect it.
And I get what you're saying. And
Yeah.
even this article says once they finally set the date, the man pays because they are normally the moneymaker. And that's not necessarily true
No, it's not.
today.
Yes.
But the role, I think, of a man in a relationship should be to provide that security, to make you comfortable in that way. So I think that they should lead by being able to offer to take you out on a date and treat you like a lady.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it, that they should take you out and treat you special.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement with
I'm
that?
definitely in agreement with that.
Okay, cool. This one says, should they wait? I already know this question. This one says, men and women, old school, typically waited until they were married or at least in a committed relationship to have sex. That still happening? I'm not, because I'm not a millennial, and I know it wasn't still happening in my generation. That was,
You know
that
what?
was,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I have had friends that live opposite of that completely.
Okay, they think that you
Anyone
should.
that they interact with,
They want to test it out.
Test the
oh,
water.
they run it through the waters.
I mean,
But-
that's the thing. People think like
But
that.
you know what? I feel like once you get to me personally, for me to get to that point, it has to be some. You know, you have to work for that. My parents, and like I said, I'm raised by my grandmother, so she always is like, "You're the prize. You're it." You know. Even one of my best friend's mom, she always told us, "You're the prize." No one, that is like the prize jewel. That's pretty much all that they want anyway. Even my father has told me that.
Yeah.
So if you are withholding that, guess what? You control every aspect of anything.
So I wondered. I know that since we're on the topic of sex, it definitely is going to cloud things, and women,
Yes.
y'all. I'm gonna just say it like we get so lost
Yeah.
after that
Once-
happens.
Yeah.
We lose our direction, so you kind
Absolutely.
of give away your power
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you have sex too early.
Yeah.
But they still out here doing it.
Absolutely.
I heard when I was driving in, I was listening to a podcast, and one lady said that her husband did not kiss until the first time when they said "I do." Why are you looking like that?
That's a bit much.
Oh wait.
Until they said I do.
That's what she said.
Do you know how
Wow.
long they was probably dating before they did?
They might have dated for a shorter period of time. I've seen that happen too. When you're not intimate in that way, your relationship can move along a little
Absolutely.
bit
And
faster.
you're able to focus on that person instead of just instead of sex being the focus. You're able to focus on each other and really get to know the person.
I agree, because I don't know how much you getting to know each other. Corey, why you got this look on your face?
Why you all proud of?
I think that people, I think it's society norms that we say that sex is this, particular point that we get to, because in all honesty, the way that we interact sexually is innate. That's
Right,
normal.
exactly.
And I mean, if one chooses to wait to marriage, that's one thing, and I understand that because you don't want to spread yourself too thin. But at the same time, I've never bought a car that I ain't test drive. That's just me.
So you wouldn't do it?
No.
You would not? That would be a deal breaker for you if somebody said they wanted to do that?
Honestly, we're not on the same
Yeah, okay.
mental wavelength.
Okay.
And
she's a little bit-
that makes sense because you have to be on the same mental wavelength.
And that's a difference right
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
That's an indicator. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's important. So that's something to consider too. It's not just about the actual sex. It's about are we headed in the same direction? Do we think the same things?
Right.
Are we?
Because see, so many people focus on sex and don't know what intimacy is.
They skip
And
that
so
part.
they forget the whole intimacy part of it, and it's more so about sex than anything. You know, so I mean, and sex fades. I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah.
As you get older, sex fades.
Okay, so what about Miss Independent? You know, guy want to help her with her bags up the stairs, and she like, I got it. I got my own house. I got my own car. I got my own. What's that, Brenda?
You know what? I have to. You know, it's funny because I had been married for 12 years, and had got divorced and raised my children or whatever, and I was that independent woman. I had been by myself. I had raised my children, and I had been single, had been dating and everything. But I knew what I had asked God for and what God had promised me in my next mate.
Okay.
I realized the mistakes that I made in my first marriage, and some things, and I learned some things about myself. And so I realized that I had to fix some things with myself. So I did that. But at the same time, you have to. I got a chance to know who I was, and it takes the focus off of the whole sex, the whole sex aspect of it, and you focus more on you as the individual and what you need for yourself. I just think that a lot of times as women, I want to do things my own. And I had been so used to doing it, and so when my husband came, he is, he's loving, he's caring, he's kind, and so I had to backpedal some things. It's like, okay, Brenda, I had to catch myself.
Yeah,
sometimes,
because you're
I'm
so used to it.
I'm so used to. Okay, he's like, honey, you need something? I'm like, oh no, I got
got
this.
it.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
So that brought up, I don't know if you all heard about this, if you've been on social media, but Fantasia had
Oh,
it's
yeah, I
the
saw
thing been
that.
going on about Fantasia
Yes.
was talking about being submissive to your husband, and a lot of people didn't agree with that. Or a lot of people felt like she was being passive or being misled or something like that. And, you know, submission, just like courting, these are old words, I think. I don't
Yeah.
think they're used so much anymore. And I think that when you take that stuff out of the rotation, things get thrown off.
Yeah.
Because just like they just said on the last podcast, you know, people calling their son their king.
Yeah.
And your son can't lead you nowhere.
Right.
He can't. You supposed to
Right.
teach him. You supposed to raise him up.
Right.
But I think that just like you mentioned about your husband, the way that the man that you are with or the way that the man is pursuing you presents himself to you
Right.
is what would make you kind of ease up and allow him to help you out. Because my thing has always been, I can't let you lead me in the river so I could die. Like, that's not gonna happen. So if I see that happening, I'm gonna automatically be like, give me these car keys, I'll drive.
Yeah.
I'll drive.
Yeah.
And I think that based on what people were, the way people were reacting to what Fantasia said, it was like you just letting somebody lead you blindly because they the man and you the woman. And I think that's where the problem comes in at.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, you know, we always want to get in everybody else's situation and everybody else's business. But if Fantasia is, you know, following God's orders and what God is talking to her about, who are we to step in and say, you know,
that's
what she's
your
doing
house.
or whatever?
Right.
That's her house.
Yeah.
You know, but we're so quick to get into somebody else's house, and we don't know what if they're following God or if they're, you know, they have, you know, a higher power that they're following, whatever. They're listening to them. They're not listening to us anyway.
Is submission a word in your
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
for you, or
Is
in
it
in
for the
your
male or is
circle?
it for both?
It's I'm learning. That's what you say, I'm learning. I'm learning that because it's so funny you said that because I had this talk with my best friend the other day about from my mother to me. So I've never seen anyone married.
Okay.
I've
You've never seen
I've
anyone
never
married?
seen a successful marriage a day in my life.
Ooh, that's rough.
Never.
Okay.
But actually, I seen one. I have no idea how she did it, but she's still married to this day. It's my
Okay,
cousin.
wait. What do you
Only
mean?
one.
But what do you define successful?
Yeah,
Successful
I was gonna say
meaning
that too.
that 30, 40, 50-year marriage that we've been through some things, but we, you know, and we're working through it. We've grown together. That glue that's like this.
Okay.
Kind of what they talked about in the podcast last time. That real black love, you know, and basically, sorry, bring me back.
You were saying that you've only seen one.
I've only
your
seen
cousin.
one.
Yeah.
I've only seen one.
Okay.
So watching, you know, my grandmother, she never, ever submitted, ever. She worked, I've seen her work 3 jobs. Wow. I've seen her not sleep. I've seen her put food on the table, and she did it all by herself.
She had a man?
No.
Well, who was she going to submit to? She had
And
a
that's
man?
my point.
Okay.
So but I have a grandfather, right?
Yeah, true.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Then we go down to my mom, and I'm like, okay, I seen it a little bit.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I seen it a little bit, but speaking to my father, he was just like, no, your mom is tough. Like, she's always been independent. Not that she's not submissive, it's just she's independent. But as an adult, as a grown woman, I understand why she wasn't with him. Because you have to be, in order for a woman to be submissive, you have to be a man.
Yeah, you got to be worth it.
If you want me to bow down and step back, you have to put forth that effort. You have to do what you're supposed to do.
And don't be asking me to pay half of the bill at the
Yeah.
dinner table on
Right.
the first date.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Exactly.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't mind being a woman, but you can't mind being a man.
So I've always thought, you know, people try to demand respect.
Yeah.
And I don't think that respect is something that can
It's
be
earned, not
demanded.
given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. But I also see what you're saying when you say your grandmother didn't submit, so she wasn't able to be in a relationship. Because I feel like sometimes when you are too strong or you emasculate
Yes.
the man
Yes.
that you with, or you talk crazy to him,
Yes.
it's not going to work. Because I think that goes against a man's natural nature.
Yeah.
To,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't know how many men sitting up letting their woman talk crazy to them. I mean, y'all let y'all.
I think it's only certain men that can be emasculated. don't think
What do
all
you
men
think
can
that-
be emasculated.
Yeah.
What do you think the quality is that makes a difference in that?
In terms of why he could be emasculated, could be mother issues. It could be, just something that happened in his background. I know, well, I don't know, but I know there's guys that like to be told what to do. They
Well, I think
enjoy
that
it.
throws off the whole dynamic of a relationship.
It does.
But it's Dave Chappelle, he had a joke. He said, he saw one woman in the grocery store, talking to her husband like, "Come on."
Yeah.
And she talks to him like that.
And it's,
So if
it's
you
weird.
allow yourself to be talked to like that, then you allow the other things.
And a lot of
happen.
times I think those are just, those are kind of like generational curses. It's, like the grandmother did it, so the mom did
do what
it,
you
so
see.
the child does
Just
it.
like
So
she
it's just-
said, you
it's just-
repeat what
it's
you
repetitive,
see.
and I think it's unfortunate that, you haven't had an example for a marriage, but it doesn't mean that there isn't, that you can't have the marriage.
I was thinking about that too, even on TV now.
Yeah.
What couples are married on TV now?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
what are there shows that have married couples that are successfully married, and how we had? No,
Yeah,
I
no,
can't
they
think
don't.
of. I really can't think. They're all different, and I
Well,
guess
if
Cosby
you notice,
Show, there's none of
but
that.
if you notice, the media is taking over.
Yeah.
If we allow it,
Yeah.
those that do not have faith and will allow it to just take over our mindsets and how we view things and how things are supposed to be. But that's why you have to have your faith and your values and stand on those, because they like you said, there's none on TV. There's no Cosby
and
Show.
we
There's
need
no,
examples.
families on
Yeah.
TV now anymore.
Yeah, because back in the day, even back to the cartoons, when I think back
Yes.
to the Flintstones
Yes.
and the Jetsons,
Yes.
it was family.
It was a family, and it was mother and father and children.
And I'm wondering, like, if today, just off the top of my head, if TV has adapted to the way that the world is
Yes.
now.
Have you
So,
seen Modern Family?
I was just gonna speak about that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
Everything
kids
is
are
on
seeing
there.
this?
Yes.
I didn't grow up like this. I was like, this is
Absolutely.
You're automatically telling these kids they don't even really know who they are.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you at 25.
Yeah.
I still don't know who I am all the way.
And you,
Yeah.
you
So it's
you
no way
don't.
you could tell
Yeah.
a 12-year-old that they know their sexuality.
Absolutely.
It's no
Agreed.
way.
Yeah.
It's no way.
They don't know it. I don't know what they feel, because I think all of us, like Corey said, it's innate. And so we feel things that before we even know what they are.
Right.
But I don't know that a 12-year-old understands what they're feeling in order to be able to categorize it.
Yes.
Yeah, and things have changed so much. I mean, even that, like when we were younger, when you were in high school, if there was somebody that was a homosexual, it wasn't necessarily public knowledge.
No.
No, it wasn't.
Now, high schools have programs for this.
They have
because
clubs.
yeah, clubs and things like that. Think that's old school versus new school.
Yeah.
So much has changed in the way that things are done.
But I think more so our values have changed.
Yeah.
You know, the respect levels for each other has changed. Everything has changed. The way our parents did things. Of course, we want to do things totally different from the way our parents and our grandparents did. But back then, it worked.
But
I mean, we might didn't like it, but we weren't killing each other back then. You didn't have all these childhood diseases. You didn't have autism and all
why
these
do
other
we want to
things.
do things totally
We wanna-
different from the way that the people before us did it, though?
Because I think we want to say that they were too strict or they were too harsh or it didn't take all that. So we want to have a better way of doing it. You know how you have children, I have grown children too. They see us as, oh, mom did too much. You're doing too much, mom. I can do it better. I'm gonna show you I can do it better than this. And some of them are struggling or whatever because they're trying to find a different way to do it, and they have no clue.
Yeah, because there's.
But they want to do it. But they want to do it different from the way you did it.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess you do look at some situations in your family, like we said, breaking generational curses, some things that you're like, I'm not taking this with me.
Right.
I'm not taking this with me. But I think some things, foundational things, just like they, again, spoke about on our previous podcast, is that family, though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, on the very first podcast, I'll tell you in a minute, don't let your family take you under, but we've lost the sense of family.
Absolutely.
We've lost the sense of, like you said, the respect and the order.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
order of things. Things are so out of order now. I mean, I think this first question on this thing was, let me see what it said. So, how does someone show that they like you now? They said if a man liked you before, he would ask you out on a date. He would treat you like a lady because he wanted to. It says now, younger people, they hint around that they want to go out on a date. They never ask you. They expect you to ask. And
Wow.
they call you a gold digger if you have standards and you want to be treated a certain way. Yes? You
Yes.
looking like yes.
All of that.
Yeah, because they expect you to pay.
Yeah.
Half the bill. That's crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
But I had a talk with someone my age. A guy said, when you go out, you ever take your mother out on dates? He was like, yes. I said, okay, so you take your mother out. Do you ask her to pay? No. So treat me how you would treat your mother.
Right. Yeah.
And he looked at me and was like, I said, yeah, I'm just that deep. Like, you should want me to be a reflection of your mother. That's something my father taught me. He said, I always look for a woman that was at least 50% of my mother. Because that's their outlook, just like in the last podcast. That is your outlook on how a woman should be, on your mate. So as a man, as the man that I look for has to be at least 50% of my father. Because that's
See,
my
I
first
think,
look as a man.
I think we've lost that too because a lot of
Yeah.
us didn't grow up with our fathers.
Yeah.
So we're not looking as an example. Like I think some Simeon said, you know, he's the first. Your father's your first love or the
Yes.
first example. But if you didn't grow up with your
Your father,
dad,
yeah.
you don't know what that
Absolutely.
looks like.
Absolutely.
You have
weren't
no idea.
treated like a
Yeah.
princess
But
or whatever.
but a lot of us don't, have not grown up with mothers or fathers. But it doesn't mean that you cannot be a good mother or a good father.
yes.
Agreed.
I used to I have an older son that's 27. He has a son, and I told him, I said, you don't have to do anything to be just like me or your father. It's in you already to
Right.
be just like us. I said, so what you have to do with your son is you have to try. You have to do. You have to do extra. You have to put forth an effort to be better so that for him. Because if not, you're just going to follow in my footsteps. I've already paved the way for you.
'Cause
And
we
so
do what
has
we
your
see.
father. So you have to try.
Yeah. It's so funny because when you say we do what we see, I know that growing up in my house, we had Del Monte vegetables in the cabinet. When I got older, I used to go to the grocery store, and that's exactly what I would buy. I didn't even know it was any other kind.
Right.
I didn't realize that literally till my ex-husband was like, why are you buying these expensive green beans? I'm like, they're other kinds? Like, I literally didn't see them. We
Right.
do what we know.
Absolutely.
We automatically will do what we know. So that's the part where we're at now with Sis stand on my shoulders and with the podcast is trying to teach people something that's missing.
Yeah.
So the question that was posed is old school better than new school? Is it a combination? Is it a balance in the middle? What old school things, because I think there are definitely some old school things that we need to bring back.
I think the old school values need to be brought back.
Okay.
I think there's nothing wrong with new school. I think old school and new school can help each other.
So middle school.
So, middle school.
Middle school.
Yes. I think we should
I'm
blend.
trademarking that middle school.
Absolutely. I think the old school and new school should come together. I think the values, that old school had, that a man will respect you and will treat you a certain way, but also that a woman would act a certain way.
Oh,
Because
for sure.
you could want a man to be a man all day, but if
you
you
out
but if
there
you
bust
but if you
down
acting like the
Tatiana.
man, one man don't need another man. So
That's
it's like
true.
you have to, if you want a man to be a man, you have to be a woman or be ladylike and be what a man would want
I agree.
versus than trying to be his counterpart.
But I also
Or be
think
him.
too, one thing that can bring in is back in the day, where they said the man was the breadwinner and the provider. Well, women are out here getting the same things as men, and I think that's not a detriment. I think if you work together, that could be a
Absolutely.
beautiful situation. We
Absolutely.
can get twice as nice.
Absolutely.
We can get twice as nice. What
Absolutely.
about you? Any old school things that since your grandmama done put all this seasoning
Listen to
in
grandma.
the pot?
Hmm.
Y'all still cooking?
I cook.
Oh, do you cook for real?
Yes, I do cook.
Not no
I haven't
frozen dinner
mastered
stuff.
my grandmother's cooking yet.
Okay.
But
Get
I
them
do
recipes
cook.
though, girl.
I know. I do cook though. I do cook. I do cook. really know.
Okay.
It'll probably be those dates.
Dates are so important.
They're
Yes.
very important. And conversation.
Conversation.
They miss a lot of people miss conversation.
and just meaningful conversation and
Yes.
a conversation to agree to disagree.
Yes.
My,
Yes.
one of my girlfriends told me that before she goes out on a date with a new person, she always looks up something to bring to the conversation.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
she might go to Google or look up
A
something so they
conversation
can have an
piece, something.
actual conversation. And I think because the art of conversation is gone. When
Yeah.
you texting all the time and you sending Facebook messages all the time, you sit in front of somebody at the table, everybody on their phone. I saw this another article where the photographer had taken these pictures of people in positions, but it was
Without
like
their
everybody
phones. I
had their
seen
phones,
that.
but he removed the phones.
Yes.
So there was couples laying in the bed together, and they both were back to back to each other like they were looking at their phones. They weren't communicating. It was families. You had something?
No, you have a comment.
Okay. Go ahead.
My fault about that.
Uh-huh.
It says black people love the word submit and the idea of a submissive wife. Unless you're a Christian and actually have read and understand the practice of Ephesians, where that whole concept and teaching derives from, we, black people, need to get away from the idea of submitting to a man or a husband.
So I know that it is a biblical term, and I didn't, when I said it, I wasn't speaking biblically. So I do understand exactly the point that's being made there, because we do throw things around because we've heard the term. But I do think that there is order, and there should be order. And in my opinion, I think that for a household to run effectively and a family to run effectively, if there's a man and a woman in that household, the man should be the head of the household. That's my opinion. Agreed or disagree?
I'm in agreement.
I agree.
I'm in agreement. If the man is in the household.
If he's in the
If he's in the
household, and if
household,
you,
yes.
I think too that the important part of that though is choosing the man that you allow to be the head of your household.
Yes.
That's important too.
Absolutely, because I remember what actually this is part of my chapter in Sister Stand on My Shoulders, where you have to, just because a man asks you to marry him, you have to ask, ask your father, or ask who you have your faith in, if this is the person for you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, just because a person asks you, you're like, okay, oh yeah, he asked me.
Oh
No,
my
not
God.
necessarily
Yes.
the case.
We don't have to. You don't have to say yes to
Absolutely,
everybody.
absolutely.
Yes.
Just because when somebody asks you a question, you have the choice. You have the right
a question.
to say yes or no.
Yeah. And if people get married or get into relationships with people and they don't even feel right about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You moving forward about something, I don't know why, because he asked you.
Yeah.
Because we want to be attached to somebody, because we want a sense of belonging, but you're not looking at what you're doing. And I think nobody is teaching these
No.
things. Nobody's talking to young ladies about these things. So when somebody comes along and he say, yeah, I want to be with you, you like, cool, somebody want me, let me go and get
Right.
involved in this. And
Right.
he's not the right person for you.
Yeah.
Or she's not the right person for you. I saw a guy got engaged like 4 or 5 times. I ain't understand it. But he want to be in a relationship. Or I guess he want to be in a relationship. I mean,
He wanna be in something.
he wanted something. Yeah,
Yeah.
something is happening.
But then timing is a good point too, because you have to know who you are first
Yes.
before you can even think about attaching yourself or let somebody attach themselves to you. Because if you don't know who you are, and he might not have no clue who he is, and y'all just two confused people getting together.
Is there an age that's too young to get married?
Yes.
What age is? What you think?
I would have to say, I would say anything under 25 is
So
too
25.
young.
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
Because I know for me personally, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I'm so different than I
Yeah.
was at 25. I got married at 22, 23. And I was married for 17 years, but that's kind of telling how old I am. But it was just the person I was when I got married,
Yes.
and the person I was in the middle of the marriage, and the person I was at the end of the marriage. were
Absolutely.
3 totally different.
Absolutely. 3 different stages.
Does it have anything to do with the way that you were brought up? Because I did cable for 20 years,
Uh-huh.
and I remember I used to go into a lot of young married white folks' houses. They were 18, 19 years old, baby, brand new in the career, all the time. This was typical in Oak Park. And it was just real typical to see a young white married couple.
Well, I think that's a valid point, because I think a lot of times they prepare their children for
Yes.
marriage. You know, I don't think we prepare our children for marriage.
'Cause I don't know why I got married, to be honest. No, I'm serious. Like, I didn't have a. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah.
a real reason that
Yeah.
I got married. Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
Get
so
out-
that's
yeah.
that's a setup for failure, because
Absolutely.
you haven't figured anything out. You just doing something essentially, and then one day you wake up like, what am I doing?
Absolutely.
And yeah.
And it's, especially when you're laying next to somebody that's, you just like, okay, well, why am I here?
I don't even like you.
Yeah.
Like, we
And
don't
so-
even like,
Yeah.
not in a bad way, but meaning we don't even like the same things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you're going two different.
Yeah. You know,
Two
you
different-
like poetry. I want to listen to Beethoven.
Yeah.
And we can't meet in the middle anywhere, but we never figured that out during the dating process.
Yeah.
Because we skipped
Yeah.
that part.
Absolutely.
We were so in something. Go ahead.
For something that we didn't have.
Absolutely.
I guess so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My point being is basically this. If you start off young and you and that individual have the type of communication, you see, a young man that gets the woman, he understands how to communicate with her. She understands how to communicate with him. It's possible to do at a young age.
Agreed.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
can literally grow
Grow together.
together.
Yeah.
But if one person steps outside of that circle and meets someone and talks to someone, and all of a sudden now they've gained some new insight, shall we
Yeah.
say, and that may appeal to them for that time, and all of a sudden now the marriage is broken up and we got a divorce.
Yeah.
But it is possible, I
Yeah.
believe.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
definitely
absolutely.
possible.
When I say you find your soulmate, that's a quote that you've probably heard from time to time. But it's essential to a good relationship to find
Yeah.
someone who can communicate with you.
And a person who that truly gets you. One of my good scriptures is, how can two walk together unless they agree? You have to be in agreement to be able to walk and talk and communicate with anybody, and even try to build something with.
I think you also too have to develop a friendship.
Yeah.
That's the foundation,
Absolutely.
because the friendship is what's gonna get you through everything else.
Well, the friendship is going to help you understand who the person
That's how
is.
you get that's how you become friends with somebody, as you get to know them and you understand who they are.
Absolutely.
But friendships are very valuable.
Yes.
We treat our friendships, even, you always think about how you say, my girlfriend's gonna be here if dude gone.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
your friendships are important to you and you care about them.
Right.
So in a dating relationship or in a romantic relationship, I think that part of the dating is getting to know this person and truly building a friendship and marrying somebody that you like. I mean, they always say marry your best friend, and I've heard it, and people say that, but they didn't marry their best friend because that person they didn't gel with per se. They're calling them their best friend because they married now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you skip some steps in there. Yeah, yeah. Right. I mean, that's my best friend, but he don't even know nothing about you for real. I've seen situations like that where people don't talk to their spouses about things, and I feel like if you can't talk to your spouse about something, that probably shouldn't be your spouse.
Yeah.
You know, it's that, but that's something that I didn't know at 23.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's something that I had to grow into.
Right.
So I know we only got a few more minutes left. We did kind of cover. We said we was getting out of here at 9 o'clock. It's 9:30, so we still end up going the whole hour of the show. But conversation was good, and I think it was very necessary. So I think we've all agreed that old school, new school both have their values.
Yeah.
So we gonna do the middle school in the middle. But the important thing is to take the time to communicate, to learn. Understand that dating is a process and that you should be using it to get to know somebody. Don't just necessarily go into the date. Every date, don't look for your husband.
Absolutely.
What you should probably be doing is just looking to get to know somebody. And if y'all gel, then go on another date. And
Absolutely.
if y'all gel, then go on another date. And communicate. Don't go out on a date and don't know who paying for dinner. Don't, like, y'all don't decide that until the middle of the thing. Because what if you ain't got the money? I mean, what happens? It's so
But
many
what are you
things.
ordering if what are you ordering if you don't know who gonna pay for it?
Right, like. Like, you better.
And where are you going to eat at?
I guess you order how much you got in your
She got
purse.
so many questions.
I don't know, but questions that need answers.
Because you're definitely not going to somewhere,
Where the price is on
Weber
the
Grill or
menu.
someplace like that.
You can't go somewhere where the price isn't on the menu.
Right.
You don't know, because especially on a first date, because you don't know what this person gonna order.
Absolutely.
You don't know who they are, how their mindset is. But
Absolutely.
we digress, ladies. We wrapping up.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that again, we want to make sure that we're communicating, that we're understanding what we're doing, and we're taking our time with things. Don't skip over
Absolutely.
steps. Don't go too fast.
Be anxious for nothing.
Do not be anxious for anything. Don't rush. And just because somebody offers you something, you ain't gotta take
Take
it.
it.
That's right.
That's the real talk. So it's again, as I always say when I end the podcast, when a woman makes the rules, she changes the game. And I'm not saying that about being bossy. It's just setting the standard for yourself and for your life and what's acceptable to you. So thank y'all for joining us again this week on Her Rules. Thank you both for coming out. I enjoyed the conversation. Talk to you soon. Have a great week.